Hey there, it's Jess. If you're new here, I'm a certified professional canine nutritionist, raw nutrition certified for dogs and cats, a holistic pet health coach, the founder of Wild Wellness Pet, and the host of the Pet Parenting Reset podcast that you're listening to right now, where every pet deserves the absolute best, and every pet parent is welcome. Learn from the best holistic and integrative experts in veterinary medicine and nutrition every Tuesday right here on this podcast. Or get individualized help with your pet through one-on-one consultations and take a deep dive into the root cause with the Wild Wellness Bioenergetics at-home testing kit. It's time to rethink how we raise our pets, a reset to naturally healthy dogs and cats. If you've been feeling like there has to be something more, something better, a better way to raise healthier pets, welcome to the Pet Parenting Reset. Welcome back, pet parent. So today is so near and dear to my heart because there's a shift happening in the veterinary industry, and there's a lot of fight. There's a lot of pushback to what is happening, which is completely understandable. Change is hard, but I'm here for it because I feel like, yes, with everything, there's good and bad, but with this, I feel like there's so much more good than there is bad. But people have a really hard time with change, and especially in this industry. So I'm biased, obviously, because this is what I do for a living as well. Like I do this podcast, which is a labor of love. And what I really do is help pet parents with their pets. And usually that means their pets are really sick. And I work I am very clear about I am not replacing your veterinarian. Your veterinarian is still very important in your animal's care. Like, and I talk about this a lot, where you as a pet parent are like the leader. You are the CEO of your pet's life, and you need to hire and fire appropriately. And there are a lot of veterinarians out there that are just fighting so hard against change in their industry. But the reality is, as far as I can tell, and with all of the veterinarians I have talked to, which is a small percentage, change is needed. Change is needed for so many reasons. Change is needed first and foremost because our pets are suffering. The past 50, 60, 80, I don't know how many years, our dogs and cats' lives, like their lifespans are shorter than they ever were. Their quality of life is worse than it has ever been. And we need change. And on the other hand, when we look at veterinarians, they have the highest suicide rates. They don't want their own practices. They don't want to manage payroll. They don't want to manage employees. So everything is being sold out to mega corporations because they want to be employees. They don't want to have their own businesses. And I understand it. They're overworked, they're overstressed, they're overwhelmed, and something's got to give. So my guest today is Amanda Smith, and she is the founder of Canine Gut Solutions. And she actually has spent 20 years in the veterinary industry and has transitioned into being a functional canine nutritionist. So welcome, Amanda Smith. How are you doing today?
I am doing lovely. How about yourself?
Good. I'm good. I'm really hoping that 2026 is like the turning point, because there's movement. Like there's been movement for a handful of years to where we're bringing people in who maybe haven't actually been in the veterinary industry before, but that doesn't mean that we can't learn things. That doesn't mean that we can't be helpful and provide services alongside what our veterinarians are doing, especially in cases where our veterinarians just don't have the bandwidth to deal with it. And nutrition is one of those things. So, and gut health. Oh my goodness. Like, I'm just going to say this and get this out of the way, because I feel like the majority of what is actually done in a veterinarian's office is counter to what we should be doing for gut health, right? And it is so important because, 70, depending on where you look, who are you talking to, 70 roughly %, the immune system is in the gut. And so there's just so much going on. So tell me, first of all, like your history, your trajectory, getting you from, well, you've done a lot, and then going through being a veterinary technician, and now saying, you know what, I actually want to help patients in a very different way. I want to help these dogs in a very different way. And so now you're a functional canine nutritionist. I love that term.
Yes, yeah. Gosh, being in the veterinary world was a blessing because I learned so much, starting out in the exam room, I was in surgery, and then towards the end of my career, I was doing physical therapy for cats and dogs. So I think that's where I started to branch out to there are other ways to help our animals than the traditional way. And I feel like good old, oh my gosh, I'm gonna look at it. The forever dog is kind of what opened my eyes. And then checking out different, oh gosh, the words, documentaries and opening your eyes and being open to what's out there, what's available, different avenues to kind of go down. And I noticed it with my own dog's health journey that what I'm feeding is not helping. They're still having diarrhea. They're still, so my one dog, Izzy, she had pancreatitis. And the veterinarian said, here's a hydrolyzed dog food. This is what she can have, and that's it. And then I went back a couple weeks later and I said, this isn't sustainable. Like, I can't financially keep up with this. And she said, find a lower fat dog food. And my mind was blown just hearing that that's it. This is your hope. This is all you can do for your dog. And what you were saying earlier that, hire and fire, you have to be your own pet's advocate. You have to stand up for your dog and even for yourself and your own healthcare journey. Um, and that's where it came that I was like, I'm going to dive into nutrition and how I can help my dog holistically from the inside out. It all starts with the bowl. Like, there's so much you can do. And that's kind of where everything was born, is getting to the root cause. If we're not getting to the root cause, then we're going to keep having these issues. Talking to a client last night, they have itchy skin. The doctor, veterinarian said, give them Benadryl. That's not going to solve your problems. That's a Band-Aid. And I went off on a tangent, but being a functional canine nutritionist, I'm helping my canine guardians get to the root cause. And a holistic health journey is not linear. It's not that quick fix. It's the long game, but it's the long game that's going to get you where you want to go and have little successes along the way. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, and I actually, it just, for whatever reason, like a light bulb went off in my head because I'm like, most of the time, well, number one, people constantly have to remind me that not everybody knows what I know. So I like skip over so many steps. I don't say so many things, but I, it like baffles me that people aren't out there looking for better, that people aren't out there saying this is a Band-Aid. Like, I actually want to get to the root cause. But the reality is that there are people out there that are happy with the Band-Aid. They're like, for the time being at least, they're happy with the Band-Aid. They're like, okay, give me whatever drug I need to make my dog stop itching, and end of day, that's like the end of story. We're going to bed and we're actually going to be able to sleep tonight, and they're happy with that. But then there are other people who are like, okay, I put my dog on this medication and a year later, now I've got this tumor that's popped up, right? And so it's usually something that's like really horrible that happens that send people down this like rabbit hole of, oh crap, what should I actually be doing? Because all that's happening when I go to the veterinarian, again, no offense to veterinarians, because what they do, what they're trained to do, like, is so important. We need them. Please, we need to figure something out so that they're
Yes.
not burnt out, so that they're not overwhelmed, so that they're not overworked, so that they don't have the highest suicide rate, because we need these people. But what they when people actually realize, like, there's so much more I could be doing for my pet to actually get to the root cause of what's going on and reverse it. So, or at least support the type of wording that I have to use, because I'm not a veterinarian, support the body to bring it back into a state of homeostasis is the goal. What is it so, okay, it was pancreatitis with your dog. I actually know a lot of people who it's pancreatitis. They're like, "I don't understand why this is the only option." And I also don't understand, I think, not me, these people whose dogs wind up with pancreatitis. I also don't understand why, like, fat is so villainized. I'm glad when people get to that point because that's a whole thing in and of itself. I was actually just that's so funny. I was explaining that to a client last night. She was like, "There's so, I cooked this turkey and there's all this fat," and I'm like, "Okay, let's talk about this really quickly." I'm like, "Okay, let's talk about the turkey and let's talk about the carbohydrates your dog was eating for a very, very long time." um, so what happened on your journey with your dog and the pancreatitis?
She started out with just she was on kibble.
Yeah.
And that's where it all started. Feeding her different foods, and it was just the constant vomiting, and then just after another, and then we go to the vet, and then we're put on different medications, and then we do an ultrasound, and we're seeing how things are inflamed in there, and then that's kind of where it came down to, oh, it's pancreatitis. So on that journey, it was, okay, here's this food, feed her this, and then we move over to, I don't feel like that's it. So then I started making her own food. I use Animal Diet Formulator because I like to know the ingredients and what's going into her bowl. Um, and it's even trial and error for her food bowl. And knowing what's sensitive, what's going to support her and not cause more inflammation. And having a dog food journal. So journaling what's triggering her, what's not triggering her, my poor husband, he's like, "What are you doing now?" I said, "I got to go see her poop. I got to see what her poop looks like. Is she doing good? Is she not?" Like my kids, they're like, "Mom, what are you doing?" Um, Paying attention to their poop and seeing what that's telling you. And that's again only part of the puzzle. So making her food and constantly going back and forth. So we ended up again just feeding whole fresh foods and rebuilding her gut microbiome to a healthier state. So that's kind of her journey.
So, what are some of the principles you use? Obviously, every dog is different, every situation is different. You don't know what you're starting with all the time. But what are some of like the foundational principles that you have for rebuilding a gut microbiome?
So for me, if someone's coming to me and they're saying my dog has a messed up gut and we need to figure it out, I use tools. So I use test, don't guess. You have a lovely test. I use Animal Biome. They help get to the gut microbiome, what's going on inside the dog, and seeing what the imbalances are. Like you had said, 70 to 80%, depending on where you're eating, the immune system lives in there. So if that's inflamed, if that's aggravated, we got to get to that root cause. So, that's part of the puzzle. Part of the puzzle is figuring out what's going on, seeing what their recommendations are, and then also going to a place of how do we calm the gut? How do we get that back to a healthy state? And creating a recipe that's going to help them thrive and not constantly fight against itself and move in the right direction. So that's kind of where I start when I'm working with my clients and helping them be successful in the sense of what can we, I don't want to say afford to do, but what's sustainable? What can we do for your dog? And there's so much that owners can do if they only knew. And that is what really kickstarted my business, because being in the veterinary world, there were so many things that they would come into the animal hospital for. And I'm like, if you only knew, like you could have avoided the situation. You could have, not gone to the point. Unfortunately, I saw a lot of euthanasias due to financial issues. For example, spaying and neutering is controversial, but what typically happens is a female dog is not spayed and she's 10 years old and not knowing she can get a pyometra. and then they can't afford the surgery and the dog gets euthanized. And I bring this up because I'm like, there's, if they only knew, maybe if they only knew that they could have pet insurance, and then who knows if that would have covered it anyway, but prepared for the unknown. And that's even hard too.
Mhm.
Um, but there's also so much we can do, so much we also can do with their food, with what's going in their mouths, what's helping heal them, not, and healing's is a controversial word as well. What's helping their body thrive is really it. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot and it's exciting.
It is, because every animal is different.
Hmm.
Like, there is, and I think that's one of the thing the two big things, there are so many things, but the two big things that I really, really wish we could unwind in pet food marketing is feeding the same thing for their whole life, right? Not having any sort of rotation. And the idea that this one formulation is going to work for every animal, all breeds, all species, like all breeds, not all species, all breeds, all ages. I mean, yes, we have veterinary diets. I hate them so much, but I hate them so much. I mean, they're band-aids, but they're not used as band-aids. Like, if they were used as band-aids, I don't think I would hate them as much as I hate them. But I mean, I've done episodes where, like, I literally taken a label from the same pet food manufacturer for the same, like, type of whatever protein food, from the, like, regular bag of food that you would buy versus the veterinary formulation of that food that you would buy, and, like, compared the ingredient labels, and the ingredients in the veterinary diet are so much worse. There's so much less meat, which should be the most expensive ingredient, and yet the veterinary diet is twice, 3 times the price, right? Like, it drives me absolutely insane. I hate it so much.
Yes.
But those are the things, like feeding the same thing for your whole dog's life, like their whole life. That just blows my mind. And then wondering why, when you feed them anything new, they have digestive upset. And then um that one formulation is good for everyone. Like,
Hmm.
what are your thoughts? I've given my thoughts, obviously. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, no, and that's what we were all led to believe. We were all led to believe that this is what you're supposed to do, pick a food and stick with it, and that's it. And the idea of bringing in a new food and rotating was scary and intimidating. And like, why would I do that? My dog likes this food. They're doing good on this food. And what I've also come to know, that when you're feeding your dog whole fresh foods, how much they adapt quickly. And talking about
Mhm.
like a healthy dog, not a dog that has issues, switching them to whole fresh foods can be a little bit more time consuming and more aware of how to do that. A healthy dog switching to whole fresh foods will blossom. Like, you're scared into this theory of, don't switch up their foods. They're going to get diarrhea. They're going to get, pancreatitis. But that's not the case typically with a healthy dog. You give them, and, talking about poop, apparently poop is a big thing for me, how small their poops are when they eat fresh food, and their body is absorbing all the nutrients from this fresh food. But then when you have a kibble fed dog, how stinky and massive a chihuahua could poop sometimes. So, yeah, it's unfortunate that that's what we were all led to believe, that you pick a food and you stick with one. And now that social media has been able to open people's eyes to what's possible, what is okay, because if you go to the same veterinarian for, your whole life, oh, well, my mom went to this veterinarian, so I'm going to go to this veterinarian, then your viewpoint is never going to change. But now, again, with the social media platforms, you get to hear different viewpoints. You get to know, okay, this is possible. This is good for my dog. And that's when the gates start to open. And the other thing, too, is to be mindful of who you're getting your information from. Not every Joe Schmo out there knows 100% what they're talking about. So if something sounds interesting to you, take it and look it up. Do your own homework on it. Don't take their information 100% value, because that could just be their story. That could just be their patient's story, not necessarily your dog's. So I, having this podcast and being able to get to more people want to learn about their dogs. And, thank you for giving me this opportunity to be here, because more people want to learn. They want to do better for their dogs. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, well, there are so many things to unpack in there. Like, one, it is so hard for me to, like, even wrap my head around the idea of being like, I can easily call myself a content creator because that's what I do. I feel confident and that's what I do, but anytime somebody calls me, like, an influencer, I have a hard time with that. Not because I don't think I am, I think just having a presence on social media, you are an influencer whether you wanna be or not. But, like, I think we've have such a negative connotation to that word anymore, and some of us are actually trying to be like, really be good influencers and, like, almost de-influence. Like, I don't want you buying 100 different supplements. I don't want you creating this, like, supplement graveyard because 'cause I've been there, and like, even at the point where I realized I had a supplement graveyard, I still had a hard time parting with it because I'm like, I spent so much money on this stuff, right?
Use
I
it.
have a hard time parting with it, but, like, it is what it is. I think we have to, like, embrace the fact that if you have a social media presence, just by default, you're gonna be an influencer in one way, shape, or form, but I don't think, like, that burden should fall 100% on us because I feel like as a consumer, you have a responsibility to
Mm.
understand that while, yes, this may be an incredible product that is formulated amazing with the best quality ingredients and blah, 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 and all the things, it still may not be the right product for your individual animal.
Mm.
And I don't think that, like, and I think that's why so many influencers have like this negative connotation. They're like, no, this actually really is a great product. I can't tell you. Like, I'm putting out a video for the population, millions of people potentially to see. I don't know what's going on with your individual animal. I can tell you that, like, yeah, I do consultations if you want to talk about your individual animal. But I do think there's like, um, this responsibility of the consumer that we overlook a lot of times.
Mm.
And I feel like that's one of the things that I love about doing this podcast so much is that I feel like I am giving the people that are consuming this content, the consumers, a better understanding of like how to evaluate these things when they're looking at them. At least that's my hope. I don't know.
What's your intention?
That's the intention, right? Um, but okay, I wanna talk about poop too because, like, it was funny when I first started dating my boyfriend, I was like certain words kept coming up, and he was like, "I have never in my life." Like, we talked about I'm like, "You're gonna hear the word poop so much," and then for a little while, all we talked about was placentas. And then, like, right now, his thing is he's struggling so much with the fact that our kitten is obsessed with rabbit's feet and little quail, like, dehydrated quail chicks, and, I'm like, they're all over the house, and he bats them everywhere, and he literally will, like, put them in his mouth and walk around and do, like, his trills, and he'll, like, toss them and throw them and go chase them, and he's like, "How is my house full of dead animal parts?" I'm like, "Well, let me explain to you. I told you this a long time ago." Um, so anyway, back to poop. I actually this is another thing that I have a hard time with. I don't wanna Yeah, I do. I do have a hard time with it because every single one of my clients, they feel like diarrhea should never happen.
Mm.
And I'm like, "Okay, I get that chronic diarrhea, an extended episode of diarrhea, like, this is something that we do want to make sure doesn't happen." But diarrhea in and of itself, like, that is a symptom. It is giving us clues, it is giving us information of what is going on, and there are times, like you were talking about, when we're transitioning foods, if we're doing a detox, if there are like, there are instances in which for me at least, unless I'm dealing with a puppy or a senior or a really, really sick dog, I'm like, I actually want to see a little bit of diarrhea because the body needs to purge, right? And that, for some people, I feel like is really hard. So how do you handle diarrhea?
Yes. Oh my goodness. And it is so interesting that, their first go-to is go to the vet. Go to the vet
Yeah. Go
and
to the vet and stop it.
yes. I mean, like, listen, we get it. Your dog probably pooped all over your house and you want it to stop right now. But yeah, okay, so then you stop it and then you still don't know why it happened. That's a problem because sure, it could just be a fluke thing. It happened and then it done, you're done. You do your antibiotics. That's just another story. Um, so diarrhea, I was gonna say I love. I love to use marshmallow roots and slippery elm in my toolbox. That's something you can get over the counter that will help soothe the GI tract. I personally, for my household, will do, for my dogs, will do ground turkey and pumpkin and sometimes sweet potato to help the stomach get back to a calm state. And even before that, it could be a 24-hour fast to completely reset the gut and get it back to a happy state. And throughout all this, letting your dog drink some water, maybe some bone broth, depending on how well they're doing, and keeping an eye on it. But a lot of my clients do panic, do lose their marbles. And that's not necessarily because of the switch and the transition. It's more so problems they had coming into me and my support that I offer. And telling them. So my one client did use marshmallow root and she's like, I'm telling everybody about it. Like it just worked so well. And I'm happy and thankful that, this type of information can get out to people and they can look up the resources and see what it can do and the science behind it. And, it doesn't always have to be a vet visit. I feel like I want to stress that it doesn't always have to be. You can evaluate, see what's going on. If your dog is lethargic, if your dog is not eating, if your dog is not itself, yes, please, 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 please. A healthy dog. That's what we're talking about. Healthy dog's got the poops, still wagging its tail, still being in a little nut job. Then 24-hour fast. See how it goes. See what's going on. Give them a little bit of food. Small, frequent meals could be helpful. And we keep saying throughout this podcast, every dog is an individual. Every dog is its own dog. So treat it as such. If you see online that it says do X, Y, and Z, that works for majority. Doesn't necessarily is going to mean it's going to fix your dog. So being mindful to that too. There's so many rabbit holes and avenues you can go down.
Speaking of rabbit holes, I'm going to take a little tangent here because I know my listeners love when I do this. Yes, like we've been talking about how most everything we read, most everything we see, like data in general is based on averages. And I was just watching something the other day that I'm so interested, like my primary degree is in psychology. I'm so interested in psychology. And so anytime like something comes up in my feed, I'm like, I need to do it. Like I will get very interested and like start doing a deep dive on these different things that I hear people talk about, especially if it's like, a doctor on a podcast or something. And whoever it was, I don't remember who it was talking about how so much of what we're seeing now, because it became very popular with like the whole like sexual harassment Me Too thing, where all of a sudden in the past like 5, 6, I don't know how many years, we have to say not all, right? Like before, I feel like it was kind of just implied that anytime we are giving information, it's a generalization. And now people don't understand generalizations. And it actually is a form of cognitive dissonance where people get hung up on their one individual experience. And I heard somebody say this the other day with, it might have actually been something that BC wrote, BC Hinchin, where somebody will say, well, when I was a kid, my dog lived on pedigree and they lived 20 years and they were fine, so it's fine for my dog now. And so they have this like one instance, which by the way was how long ago and how much has changed since then, right? Like how much more toxic is our world, how much more worse really are the ingredients in that pet food. But anyway, like they get so hung up on the one that they refuse to recognize the many. And I like that really hit a chord with me because I feel stuck in this box where anytime I make any sort of content, I have to be really careful to say not all, because people are like so quick to be like, not because 20 years ago when I was a teenager, I remember my cousin's best friend's mom did XYZ, right? I don't, and it actually is a form of cognitive dissonance that so many people have today. So that's my little TED talk and tangent. So thank you very much for listening. But I'm just stuck on the fact that we now have to say not all to everything we're talking about. I don't know if it's you or me that is. It's okay. She's having some technical issues. Yep.
Yeah, I did see it.
I figured it out.
Yeah. I'm glad.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Can you just text?
Thank you. Moving.
I think we're good.
Okay, good.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Okay. Hopefully we're good. Hopefully we didn't lose all that. We'll see. Okay. So I don't know how much of my TED talk you heard, but basically it's a form of cognitive dissonance that people can't see past the one to acknowledge the many, basically. And so for me, I feel like that makes it difficult to make content and because all you get are trolls and people talking about how, this one time at band camp, right? Like it's just like they can't, right? Like they can't. And so anytime I'm making content, I always feel the need to be like, not all, because I feel like we have to say that anymore. And it's true, but also like I think it keeps a lot of content maybe stunted a little bit.
I don't want to say not authentic. It
Yeah.
does keep away some of the real stuff because you do have to think of the backlash. You do have to think about, you know, how well do I feel to take on others' opinions, absorb how people are going to perceive this. So I say that in a kind of like, because it also takes a certain type of person to not care, to know that it's them, it's not you. It's them fighting their own battles and pretty much pushing off their own feelings onto you. And it has nothing to do with you, which was something honestly hard for me to understand being in business. It's, someone being upset for something. And of course, I have no problem taking the fault if I did something wrong because that's a human being. But knowing if someone's mad at me, if someone's upset with me, what's going on with them? What are they going through that they are backlashing or getting upset? If someone says, I don't agree with your post, Jessica, well, what happened to their dog because they fed pedigree? I don't agree. I don't do this. I don't do that. How dare you? It's because it triggered something in themselves, but you have to think. I made a post about a pyometra. and on TikTok, and people came for me. This woman's telling you not to spay your dog, and da 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 da, and like just going at me. And I posted another video. I said, "You guys heard what you wanted to hear. That's exactly what you're projecting onto me because that's not what I said. That's not how I said it." But there's only, how much can you play that game of, that's not what I said. This is how I said it. It is what it is. And if you have all the right intentions of helping people, then what does it really matter?
Yeah, it does take some thick skin. I know some friends, colleagues who regularly are like, they just want to give up. They're like, I don't know if I can handle this. And I'm like, I've been there,
Mhm.
definitely been there. I've had literal death threats against me and my animals. I've been there. Like, it's hard.
Mhm.
You just have to either say, this isn't for me.
Mhm.
I don't want this kind of negativity in my life and I'm just going to leave it behind,
Mhm.
or say, I believe in what I'm doing and I'm going to keep telling my truth, whatever my truth may be. Um, and again, that comes back to, I think, the responsibility that the consumer has that they often don't want to believe they have, but they do in assessing the content that they're consuming and figuring out who aligns with them and who doesn't. And I will be the first one to admit, like, I am so easily influenced on a TikTok shop item. I, I am an easy sell if it is on TikTok shop. I don't know what it is, but I understand that every once in a while I get a dud of an item. And I take on that responsibility. And then I go, I may not trust that influencer again.
Yes. Yes. Life lessons.
Right. I know. Like, this is, um, but anyway, it just is what it is. That's the world we live in. I think we have to be smarter about it. But okay, so you do have a community of people you are helping educate. How do, like, talk to me about your business, what you do, how you reach people, how people can find you, all the things.
Yeah, yeah. So caninegutsolutions.com is my website, and I currently offer free consultations. So the free consultation is to let's have a conversation. What's going on with your dog? How can I help you? And will that result in us working together, or will it result in here are some free resources? Because I had someone say to me, wow, that's, how do you do free consultations? And I'm like, well, I have a schedule. So if you see on my schedule that it aligns with you, then join my schedule. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. But I want to help as many people as possible. And again, if it's just the free consult and I'm telling you, hey, I can't afford to do, fresh food right now. Can I do half kibble and half fresh food? What does that look like, Amanda? Okay, let's add some sardines, blueberries, and eggs. There's so much they can do to help them, just to help them go down the right path to help their dog, because that's all we're here for. We're here to do the best that we can. And if I can help them just do a little bit good, then their dog's going to do so much better. I have an online community as well. It's a private community, a paid community where you're being guided and supported by a functional canine nutritionist. I have experts join my community each month to go over different topics on ways to help your dog live longer. And it's kind of selfishly made for myself because I love to learn new ways to help my dog live longer. What's the latest trick? What's the latest thing? Every day I'm learning something new. And I think that's something pet parents can think about too, is each day, how can I do better? And I don't want to make that into an overwhelming thing, but just to pick one thing and to learn about it, and to dive into it. So inside the community, there's that, there's the support, there's discounts on my services as well. Um, I'm mostly on Instagram where I share a lot of my content, and you'll see more of Dobby And Stella is behind me sleeping. We got Kipper in the cage and Scarlet Joe. So you'll see all of us there. But if we decide to work together, then that is a custom complete and balanced recipe where I use Animal Diet Formulator, where I'm formulating those recipes. We work together over a month's time to help you make that transition to whole fresh foods, trial and error. Amanda, this doesn't work for Fluffy. This works better. Let's try this. And giving us that month is to help us ensure your success, to ensure you're going to be consistent with your dog's health journey. And that's kind of where my membership came to life, because my clients would say, well, what do I do from here? We worked together for a month. I want continued support. Then my community was born. And then this year, I'm now starting 3 recipes that are complete and balanced over the recipes. So it's not one complete and balanced recipe in one, it's balanced over time. It's really to help the dynamic of people that want to throw recipes together on the fly instead of bulk preparing the recipes. And I see value in each of these. And I feel if people know how to do it properly, they will do it well. And it's giving them that guidance to do that and not feel overwhelmed and exhausted and thrown to Google, your nights away. So that's what we do here.
Yeah. Yeah. I love all of that. I do a lot of that myself, and I have a lot of people ask me why I still do free discovery calls. And I'm like, I don't really want somebody buying my services if I haven't talked to them.
Mhm.
I don't. Like, I want to know what's going on with your pet, and I want to make sure that I'm the right person to help you, because maybe I'm not the right person to help you, and I'm going to be the first to tell you that. If you have a dog with an aggressive cancer, I may not be the right person to help you. Like, I probably could help you, but I might know somebody better that could help you. And I refer a lot of people a lot of times, because I'm like, I have things that I do so often that I know I do them really well. And then I have things that I'm like, I could help you, but I really feel like you're going to get a better benefit if you go talk to this person.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's good for the client too, to like get a sense of who you are and what the process is going to be like and what they're actually getting for their money, because I know it seems like I charge a lot, but what they get over 6 months or a 12-month period of time, like, it really is not. It is less than what you would be paying to see a veterinarian for the same amount of time.
Mhm.
Um, but like it's an upfront cost that people are like, "Oh my gosh, that's a lot of money." I'm like, "Yeah, but you're getting me for a
Yeah.
year." Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you're getting me for a year. Let's be realistic. And so I want to make sure that like people are comfortable and confident, they are and I am, that we're going to work together well and that things are going to like mesh well. But that's also why I like that you have that community, because people can get a better sense of like who you are and how you work, and really get a lot of pointers if they're not really ready
Mhm.
to hire somebody one on one. Because I've definitely talked to people that I'm like, you don't need me and you don't really need anybody.
Yeah.
Like, you really don't need anybody. Like, unless you just want somebody to be your cheerleader.
Mhm.
If you want to pay for somebody to be your cheerleader, that's great. You can do that. But you don't need anybody. I've had that happen too, where I'm like, I don't know what, like, you just want to spend money. That's cool.
Yeah.
But
Sure. Here for it.
awesome. Well, so caninegutsolutions.com, and they can get any and everything. They can get to your community, they can get to your services. I'm sure you have like probably a blog and all the
Yes,
things.
all the things. Yep.
All the things, all the things. And so it's monthly that you bring somebody in
Mhm.
to talk to
Yep.
them. That's really cool too.
Yeah.
I like that.
This month, January, is a local friend in New Jersey that does, she's certified in canine massage. So she's going to do
Mm.
that. And then each month, there's just somebody new. We have Gussie's Gut that'll be coming in. And then I believe you're doing something with wolf.
With Wolf Creek.
Yes, they're gonna be coming
Yeah.
in the
Well,
new year in 2026. So just to get different viewpoints, have
mhm.
people learn different things that they wouldn't necessarily hear about, in the day-to-day life. So that's what I like
Yeah.
to bring to the community.
Yeah. I like that. Gussie's gut is one of my favorites, to talk to, Rob. He is because it's food, like
Yeah.
and that's what I do. I'm like, "Okay, but food can we talk about what we can do with food before we go anywhere
Yeah.
else?" Like, I have people ask me all the time, like, "What supplement? What supplement? What supplement?" Which to me is just it's like this carryover from the pharmaceutical mentality that
Mhm.
we've like has been driven into us for the past 100 years or whatever, that X is wrong, so I need Y,
Mhm.
right? That's not and I'm like, "No, no, no, no. Let's talk about the food and let's talk about what we can supplement with food
Mhm.
before we go." And herbs fall into that for me as well. And Rob is very much like that. We had a really, really good conversation. I'm just going off on a tangent again. Probably a year and a half ago now about probiotics. And he was like, "Probiotics are bullshit." And I'm like, "Thank God somebody else is saying this." And honestly, the only probiotics I recommend that are not food are the new green juju ones, and that's because they are food. They're just extracted. And I'm like, "I just don't recommend probiotics outside of that." What about you?
Yeah, no, and so it's just a rabbit hole. It's a rabbit hole because
It is.
that is just a concept. You just blew so many people's minds right now because what do you mean? Like, it's a white powder that I put on my dog's
Mhm.
food maybe once or twice a
Mhm.
day, and you're telling me it's food? Um, Again, it's just knowing what is in your toolbox,
Yeah.
what you hear something on the internet, do your homework, research it, and know
Yeah.
where those resources are coming from because there is so much out there. And I have this conversation with my friends all the time. I was like, we've been lied to for so long. And if you don't want to drink the Kool-Aid anymore, you need to be open. You need to be open to new ways to do things to nourish your body, nourish your dog's body. And the other thing that I learned, recently with my own dog is just because it's a supplement, you still, just like food, need to take it slow, introducing it slow, because this is the first time, they're seeing it. Their body's seeing this new food probiotic. And you don't know how their body is going to react. They've never had such thing. So, and now this just came to my mind, detoxing. When a dog goes from kibble to fresh food, their body does go through a detox. And that's scary to some people, the discharge from the eyes, the excess shedding, the diarrhea, because the body's getting rid of it. It's a sign, it's a signal, it's beautiful, it's doing its job. And to help your dog get through that, to see them on the other side is amazing. And I encourage everybody to be curious. And that was the original name, kind of catch line for my business was Curious Minds for the Healthy Pet. Because you have to be curious, you have to wonder, you have to be open. So
Mhm.
it's
Ugh, yeah, yeah. Oh, and that yeast die-off? Whew,
like,
man. That stops a lot of people too. They're like, "No, this can't be right." I'm like, "Yeah, it can be."
oh yeah.
It's gonna get worse before it gets better, I promise you that.
And then that's what stops people too. And,
Yeah.
being inside a community and even having us to guide you, to handhold you. And that's what we want to do. We want to handhold you because we want you to see you get to the other side and not stop because of that scary, yeast die off or goopy eyes.
Awesome. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for being here. Again, people can find you at caninegutsolutions.com, and will that also link to your Instagram, or is it just Canine Gut Solutions?
Canine Gut Solutions is my Instagram handle, but you'll be able to find everything on my website.
Awesome. And it will also be linked in the show notes. If you click on the, what is it called? Guest profile through the show notes, that will all be there as well. So you can just click, 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 and go straight to it. So yeah, thank you so much for being here, Amanda. I love what you're doing. Thank you so much for coming on to talk to people about it, because I know, like I said at the very beginning of all of this, it's new for a lot of people to pay for services and trust outside of their veterinarian. And again, like, in no way replacing veterinary care, veterinary services. This is different, but it is an addition. And I think people definitely need to get used to the fact that it is an addition in addition to veterinary services, veterinary care, which is so important. In fact, if your pet has not had blood work done, please go get their blood work done.
Love that. By the way, make sure you do that.
By the way, I know my boyfriend's cat is like 8 or almost 9 years old. And I was like, I transitioned her to wet food, and she's starting to eat some raw food, and she's like ravenous all of a sudden. And I'm like, oh crap, let's go check her thyroid. And I was like, okay, where are her records? And he's like, she's never been to the vet. I'm like, well, I'm good with that. That's probably why she's so healthy. But but I have no baseline to go off.
Yeah. Oh, to the vet.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. So thank you again, Amanda. Everybody check out Canine Gut Solutions on Instagram, caninegutsolutions.com. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Until then, please give your pets some extra love from me and from Amanda this week. Thanks so much for being here, Amanda.
Thank you.